An ultrasound showed that he had had a massive stroke in utero. They really didn't think he would survive the weekend, let alone survive birth or go on to have any sort of life. It changed my life forever. It changed our life forever. Any parent that has a newborn baby, you have huge expectations. And although we knew he was severely brain damaged, we still tried everything. Very intensive therapy, in-home, out-of-home, inpatient, outpatient. We traveled across the country to find answers. Those were exhausting years, to say the least. I don't remember how old Sam was when I started to feel like this isn't really working. All this effort isn't getting us anywhere. Is it okay to just make him comfortable? I tried to just live in the moment because thinking about the future was a little overwhelming and terrifying. I definitely thought, I can't do this. He was crying, like literally nonstop, and I want to say it was 8 weeks. I was tired, my nerves were shot, and I remember in the middle of the night, I went out into the driveway, and I just collapsed, and I said, Josh, that's it. You have to take me in. I'm losing my mind. Like, I can't do this anymore. But I also didn't know who could take care of him if I didn't. So there was that. So you feel stuck. I really felt stuck. Like, I can't do this, but I also have to do this. It cracked me. Like, it really, really cracked me. I didn't want to stay in that place, that scary place in my head. I couldn't stay there, but I needed to find ways of self-care in little ways because I had to survive this. So it was like I could have years ahead of me, and I did. I had years ahead of me yet of doing this. And so I found things to do for myself, very small things, but they made a big difference. I'm going to paint my nails today, because it makes me feel better. I have to go run an errand. I'm getting myself a latte today. Every time I had to take Sam for a clinic visit, I'd stop in the cafeteria and get a piece of cheesecake because, gosh darn it, that was really hard and awful. I tried not to get too far ahead of myself with wondering how long he would live, what event would take his life. I had several scenarios sort of in my head that, had presented themselves that I thought, okay, next time this happens, that could be it. A seizure or, an apnea episode. I could feel things sort of speeding up in the last 2 years, and I really felt like something was changing, a shift even more so in the focus of comfort for him became crucial. Everything else fell to the wayside. Nothing else mattered. I just wanted him comfortable. Spinal fusion was another difficult decision. Those are huge surgeries. Those are not, 1-hour surgeries. And I didn't know if Sam would survive the surgery. And then the aftercare, to be honest, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to survive it. So we did not do spinal fusion. His anatomy started to change in such a way that his palate was becoming narrower, his airway was narrowing. So anytime there was any little bit of swelling from a simple cold or respiratory illness, his apnea became very severe. It was very hard to watch. So we, consulted and talked about a trach and what that would mean for us in our home, and more machines and more learning curve and all of that. And the doctor looked at me and he realized I was agonizing over this, and he just said, "You're not a bad mother if you decide not to do this." And I didn't know that that's what I needed to hear, but that's exactly what I needed to hear. And we decided not to. It was like we tried to make the best educated decision we could about that. And that's just what we chose. When we started to shift our focus of cure to comfort with Sam, I think I was at like a routine neurology appointment for Sam. And I was expressing these things to him, and he had kind of a dumbfounded look on his face. He didn't know what to do with that information. And also in the room at the time was a neurosurgery nurse practitioner who was refilling Sam's baclofen pump. The neurologist left the room, he was done, and she stayed in there and she said, I heard what you said. I think you need to see palliative care. And I said, well, isn't that like hospice? And I said, Sam's not like actively dying. What are they going to possibly do for us? And she said, no, that's not what it means. I think you just need to go see them. And I remember walking in and she said, I want you to tell me the story from the beginning. And I was like, how long do you have? And honestly, I think I was in there for 2 hours, which is unheard of for a clinic appointment. And she said, okay, what can we do for him today? What can we do to make him more comfortable today? And from that point on, they really were by our side with tough decisions that came down the road. I don't think I could have provided Sam with the end of his life that I did without their help. I watched this boy suffer a majority of his life, and I thought, if I have a choice, I would like him here with us. And if I have another choice, I don't want him to suffer. Show me what that looks like. Help me. What can I do? I'm not afraid. And it went so fast. I kicked it into high gear. I kicked it into nurse mode, and I used all my tools I had here to try to help him. I want to clarify, I wasn't trying to save him. I was trying to make him comfortable. That was always the goal. As fast and as hard as I went to try to do that for him, my efforts were just futile. And about the second day in, he started sleeping. I had a conversation with his primary care doctor. I said, what is going to happen here? And he just said, Brenda, he just won't wake up again. And I hung up the phone and I realized he had been sleeping for 2 days. He had not woken up. And I switched in that moment from being his nurse to being his mother. And I went in his room and I crawled into his bed. And I told him all the things I needed to tell him. It was the most beautiful experience besides the day he was born. I felt like I owed him that after a lifetime of medical interventions and tubes and needles and machines, and I didn't want him hooked up to anything if I had the choice. And in the end, I couldn't have asked for a more beautiful, peaceful ending to that boy's life that he deserved. He really deserved that. I learned after finding you guys with Courageous Parents Network, what I had been feeling all these years was really anticipatory grief. I had been grieving the anticipation of his loss for 15 years, really, because he wasn't even supposed to survive. I really thought that the moment he took his last breath, I would stop holding my breath, because I realized I was holding my breath that whole time because that's what you do, because you just don't know what's going to happen next. And I literally thought I would just exhale and let it all out. And that's not what happened. I am learning that I think the exhale is a slow process. I don't have a feeling yet for when I look at Sam's picture, like the word love doesn't even do it justice. Like that is not deep enough for the way I feel about him. I still don't have a word for it. He changed my life and he became me and we just became one.